A courageous Air Force officer ready to face death. He is prepared. His elbow pads and his helmet.
Smile, Scotty.
Yeah, I certainly would feel fear at times.
Put your mask up or you're gonna die.
I think more often than not, it's after the fact. You're kind of so programmed and trained to do what you're doing it in the moment, and then when the moment's over, that's when you kind of process what happened. Bear, stand, come. Down. Good girl.
Great acting.
That's right. One take, man. So my name is Scott Wiggins. I served in the United States Air Force for 28 years. Professionally, I was a pilot, so I flew airplanes. As rank, I promoted up and became a Brigadier General when I retired. Had deployments in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Rwanda, so got to see quite a breadth of activity in action as I served. Wow, that takes you back a few years. So this is officer training school, so 1987, and officer trainee Scott Wiggins learning how to salute. His first buzz cut. This is Desert Storm, so first pictures down there when we went down to Saudi Arabia and evicted some folks out of Kuwait. Then a special duty assignment to Air Force One for a couple of years. So Jen and the girls came down to Houston where I had to stop with the president. Sometimes you'd sit in the airplane and think, did they really realize who's sitting up here? You do a lot of work and you study and you feel confident and qualified, and then sometimes there's those sober moments like, holy cow, I'm the guy sitting in this seat. So for really 27, 28 years, you would go do things, they would be challenging things, you would see hard things, you would process them a little bit, and then you would rotate back home, you'd stick it in a box and you'd never think about it. And you kind of thought it never affected you. And then usually there's a day comes where it starts leaking out. And then you realize, man, I think I've got to do a little bit of work on some of the things that I saw and I did. It was so curious. So I was sitting at my dining room table having dinner with my extended family, and my granddaughter, who was about 1 at the time, started crying. And kids cry, right? It's no big deal. But something physically happened to me, and I had no idea what it was. I thought, man, I'm so uncomfortable right now, and I had to get out of the room. I had been seeing a counselor already, so a couple days later I was telling the counselor, hey, this thing happened to me, my granddaughter started crying, I can't explain it. She asked me 2 questions, and I was immediately back to a very difficult military operation I was involved in Rwanda, in my mind thinking, I remember hearing kids cry, and it was awful. I think if you would look at me from the outside, I would smile, I would physically, be happy. I would engage you in conversation. Yet that was really just a mask. I mean, that was a performance, because then when I came home, I shut down completely. And I sat down outside and I thought, man, I am just absolutely empty. I mean, if a car is on E empty, I'm beyond that. I need something beyond just the weekly counseling piece. And so I began to talk to my counselor about what else could be there to help me go into a grocery store, to help me go into a restaurant, to be present, that might help me with kind of attacks, panic attacks, PTSD attacks, and things like that. And she said, hey Scott, I think you ought to research getting a service dog. They have some that are specifically trained for military veterans and people that have post-traumatic stress disorder. So I began the process of looking at several different organizations that train them. Okay. There, go through. Go. Bear, come. Dress. Good girl, that's it. Thank you. Okay, come. Bear, push. Good girl. Go through. That's it.
What was it like meeting Bear for the first time? Do you remember the moment?
Oh yeah. Bear, come. It is a little bit of a Hollywood slow motion action, ears flopping up and down and like, oh my gosh, here it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're looking and you see this beautiful dog, and there is a glimmer of hope. You're like, man, things could actually change for me. When at times you just felt like, this is the way I'm gonna be forever. You kiss it. Yeah. So I love this part about Bear, that right now she's just thinking about what is the next fun thing we're gonna do. But then the moment that we've got to go put that vest on and we got to go to work, she snaps to it. Bear, dress. I do kind of like that military precision of her, like, hey, I got my uniform on, I am saluting smartly and going. That's it. Good girl. Yes, ma'am. Good job. Yeah, inside me, certainly what changes a level of confidence, but more than that, a level of hope. Like, I can do tomorrow. I can do the next day. Good girl. Yes, ma'am. I felt like I was walking around like just a ball of nerves at times, and now I feel just at ease, whether it's in a room, whether it's in a crowd. So in the military, you kind of always had that battle buddy or that wingman, and that is something that's different when you separate. You don't really have that person anymore, so to speak. You know, you've certainly got your family and your friends, but it's different. And so Bear has kind of become that wingman, that they're always there for you, always got your back, and no matter what comes, you know they're going through it with you. I heard a song recently where the lyrics said that because of this other person, there's color back in their life. So much of my relationships with friends and family became black and white. They were sterile because I was at a distance. But now I feel like there's color back there. I feel like I'm available, I'm engaged, I'm joyful. I feel more like me as opposed to a version of me. Bear, get it. Up. You give it. It feels like taking in a deep breath and holding it for just a second and letting it out, and there's nothing. There's no tension, there's no fear, there's no darkness. It feels like a hug. It feels like a dog wagging its tail. It feels like peace. Sorry. I hadn't really thought about it that way before, but that's how I feel different. I can walk out of my house and engage the world and not feel like I'm broken. I feel like I'm defective. Just for so long, I just felt like something was wrong with me, and not just a diagnosis was wrong with me, but that I was wrong. And it's like Bear's been able to start giving me my humanity back. Thanks for being there for me.